This afternoon's hobby enhancement is a Korean beer. South Korean, apparently. Well, the health insurance has been maximized, so it's time to call these folks cured and release them from the rehabilitation facility. These are the last 3 pieces for the Dark Elf army I've been rehabilitating the last 3 years or so. I did them all in one batch and they're pretty much done. Fun fact, I think in God knows how many years of gaming, I have never actually fielded a chariot before. And I don't field the Dark Elves unless they're painted, so I've never fielded these chaps either. So I'm not entirely sure what to do with them, except make the other guy think twice before approaching the line. The prospect of a lovely counterpunch from these folks, should they get too close. The plastic chariot, on the other hand, well, it's basically a shooter. It's a shooter. It's a bolt thrower on wheels, strength 7, I think. Create a bit of a problem for the average multi-wound beast with its ability to skewer them and then reel them in, or otherwise annoy stray carrier sorcerers that don't stick close enough to their own units. The metal chariot, get them in shot here, shoot each other in passing there. This one is a classic. It's got the old fat plastic cold ones. It was missing scythes from the right hand side. Let's get a shot of those. Yeah, there we go. Might zoom in on that. Can't let dodgy camera work. Yeah, so this bit was missing. That's what the original looks like. Had to replace it with something similar. So I got some spare bits off of the Dark Rider sprue, which is also the sprue for the Warlock light cavalry, and I put together something that more or less looks the part. Aesthetically it's close enough, and frankly it doesn't need to be completely symmetrical. Also the reins on the driver were missing. You see it better on this side, molded onto the arm there. You can see on the left arm there's the end of some reins. There was no actual reins going from that hand to the what do you call it, the yoke, I suppose, of the cold ones that I've got their necks in. So I figured the piece was missing. So in order to offset just how missing it appeared to be, I took a Warlock head from the same spare bits sprue, the one with the braids, and I connected the braids so it looks like the driver is holding onto its hair, so that bit of stuff sculpted onto the arm looks like the hair is the same colour that I ended up going with for the Warlock's head. So, you know, aside from looking very Dark Elf, one can assume he's also steering via severed head traffic signals. Give the cold ones the idea of what it's supposed to be doing. Sort of keeps a theme going with this army. So yeah, it does the job. We also had a piece missing from this chariot. That back a little bit. So the driver holding the whip was missing their arm. So I took an arm from the Dark Rider bit of the sprue. So now that charioteer is wielding a spear, and that seems to have fit adequately to not really notice that it was a missing piece. Probably a bit neater than some of the other fixes I've done. I did the same paint scheme on both of these chariots. I wanted to keep the coherency across the army, So I chose colours that were the same as, let's get this shot better. I chose colours that were much the same as what I'd used on the Cauldron of Blood model. So that very dark wood tone, which is really just one of the very dark Games Workshop browns with a black wash, and really not much in the way of highlight. And the metal is just the same metal I've been doing. It's the very dark, I think it used to be called bolt gun metal, whatever the hell it's called now. Washed highlight, dry brushed up, and a bit of highlight from some mithril silver. So it fits the army theme. Did come out a bit dark, but then that's not really out of character for the rest of this army. You see it in the lighting there. It's actually not black in between the silver bits there. That's a dark brown, and it looks more dark brown to the naked eye than it does through the camera. Right, so that brings us to the boss. Put these aside. So this is actually a Dungeons and Dragons model dragon. I just liked it so much when I saw it at the shop, I bought it and thought I'll have to do something with it. Now I was going to leave that till last, but with the old world not that many months away now, and a whole demon army to paint between now and then, I figured I'd smash it all out together. I did have a look back at my first video in this series, and God, my videos have come a long way since, in terms of at least how pretty the pictures are for framing them. I plan to do this thing like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, but the blue theme has emerged so much across the whole army, including with the other monsters, that I wanted to maintain the visual cohesion of the overall army. So this thing's done in a very dark blue, black wash. Then I've worked it up with, I think, 3 shades of blue in the dry brush. And the end result emphasizes the muscle tone on this fella. Let's see if I can get some angles where he shows off his mighty biceps there. Look at that. Look at the muscle tone on this fella. And even in his neck, that's all muscle. Got a bit of a beer gut like all good strong men do. And just brings up the texture around the face, the ridges. Again, more muscle tone in there, the ridges in the toes with the scaling. Quick shot of the back there. It was a pain in the ass to dry brush up, but it got there in the end. And I think we picked out a lot more of the texture using the blue than would have if I was started with a black base for a more or less black dragon with, I don't know, grey highlights or something. I remember in the first video I did comparing the green dragon here on the right to the, at that point, just white undercoated dragon that became the one on the left. The difference in style is the Games Workshop ones have got that very thin, lithe look, whereas this one is total beefcake. Games Workshop one has got much more pronounced teeth, and made out of better plastic, to be fair. The wings were a lot easier to paint on this green dragon because of the shape of them. These ones have got more of a bat wing look to them, and they're an absolute nightmare to get into to try and put any sort of a dry brush onto them. But it's, you know, I think we got away with it. And I think, yeah, the blue one's going to look intimidating in a slightly different way. So one thing I did notice with the blue dragon, and maybe this is a Dungeons and Dragons thing, if you look at this guy's head, now that eye pip, that's carved in. I just put some orange on it and a bit of black wash. And between the angle of the head, and where the dot in the eye is put, and the shape of his mouth, This guy looks a bit like a cheeky fucker to me. I'm not sure I'd entirely trust him. I think he's going to have some fun giving you a bit of a giggle or maybe a rude surprise before he swats you with that fucking enormous paw. As for the army theme and colours, we stuck to the same basic principles that I've been using all along. Including the use of yellow as an accent colour. I wasn't sure where to do that on the chariots, so I settled for the whips. This one here, and that one there. I didn't do a lot of highlighting on them. I just sort of painted them and put a black wash over it just for a bit of texture. Yeah, so it's a nice bold pop on what is otherwise very dark miniatures for both of those models. The general received yellow lining for his cloak. It pops enough without taking from the rest of the army. And again, I kept the paint pretty basic, mostly because I still, for the life of me, can't paint yellow very well. Trying to work up layering after you've done a black wash over a cloak is a bit of a nightmare for me. I do prefer a black wash over the yellow just for the contrast of these minis. And oh yes, with the general here, yeah, there it is. We get to enjoy yet another severed head. Mounting the rider on this miniature was probably the next biggest problem for the army. The miniature, I think, is Malus Darkblade or something. Just give me a shot. He originally came, he's so old, he actually came with a metal cold one originally, I think. The body of the dragon is quite a bit wider than the cold one that he used to come on. The rider has a saddle cast as part of the actual metal miniature for the rider himself. You can actually see the stirrup and the strap there. The actual saddle's a bit hard to see. It's tucked away a little bit behind other details. You might be able to see it just in there somewhere. Just hiding his codpiece. I didn't bother doing a proper harness for the rest of the saddle to affix it to the dragon, just because that would require a bit more work with green stuff, which I've never actually used. My sculpting skills are pretty much non-existent. I've never done it before. So I decided to keep it simple and stick with the army theme rationale that, you know, it is a dragon. Dragons are tough. The bloke riding it is a dark elf after all. I figure he'd just get out the rivet gun and peg the saddle directly to the dragon's scales, and if it doesn't like it, stiff shit. I did have a bit of drama in carving out the soft plastic of the dragon to make the rider fit. The lighting's hiding some of my crime here, but if you look closely, you can see that some of the texture of the scales is missing around about where the rider leg hits the dragon. Yeah, I was going at it with a variety of files and knives, and they're fine for, you know, sort of crap I normally do just in assembling models, but are a bit much when you're trying to fit models which are from different ranges and decades apart. Fortunately, the guy's got enough flair on his chainmail and everything else that hides the worst of it. So if you're 3 feet away playing a game, you're not going to notice. Right, well, that is the last of the painting for this whole army. So now, with the magic of television, this is the whole damn lot. 6 1,000 points all in, and about 3 years of work actually, which is perhaps not surprising when you factor in. In between finishing these guys, I also did 3 or 4 fleets of Victory at Sea, if you count the merchant fleet. Some stuff for Team Yankee, Papercraft Warhammer Townscape in full and based up for gaming, a few odd Metcalf buildings for Team Yankee terrain, about 150 Prussians 28mm so far, and about half of the fleet for the 1 to 700 scale Napoleonic Spanish box set and the starter fleet. So, you know, yeah, truth be told, I probably could have got this job done a bit sooner. So I'll give you a quick guided tour of what we've actually got here. So we start off with the Corsairs, which is really the core of this army. This is the army theme in action. There's a few metal chaps in amongst all the plastic. Some of the ones for 2 handbow. This is a batch I did probably nearly 2.5, 3 years ago. I have to remember the idea of this army is it's a themed army. It's supposed to be what's out and about at sea doing raids on other nations. So the Corsairs are essentially the sailors of the ships who are out there to fight in the melee. Then we have the shipboard shooters, presumably manning the whatever the hell it is they have in Dark Elf ships to shoot from. The shipborne artillery, so you're taken off and put into the field. And well, some Beastmasters who are there to help out the shooting. What else do we have? We have, well, the missionaries, that's right. The missionaries who are out there to convert the uninitiated to their Lord and Saviour, Papa Cain, and the luggage that they brought along, which no doubt necessitated a crane or something on one of those ships. The recce for those shore raids, here we go, Dark Riders to go and suss out what's going on before you commit the entire crew. And some slightly more sneaky recce, galloping about just won't do. And we have the hard hitters of the Cold One wing, the heavy cavalry with New Friend, if you can keep up. And what else have we got? We have the surprisingly easy to kill hard hitters of the Monster Wing. 3 generations of Hydra, although one of them was done up as a Cardibus. And that thing, which I'll have to field at some point, that looks like it'll be a barrel load of laughs. What else do we have? We have a shed load of folks who like to sneak up and kill people. The Army Standard Bearer who likes to go out and meet new people. This guy who thinks he's an assassin, who might not actually be a Dark Elf, but who cares, he looks good, so he's a leader. Some magical whoop-de-doo mounted on foot. And the boss's mum. There she is, Elvira herself. All led, ultimately, for stick 'em on the field by this bloke and his big beastie boy. So, that's it. Mission complete. It's been a big one. The Wood Elves probably didn't take this long. Well, there's a few less of them. So I hope you like this little journey. I liked painting them and figuring out how to make them work. Lots of rude surprises for everybody along the way. For my next trick, I've got a 3,000 point Zinch army that I'm going to try and speed paint with inks prior to the old bell coming out and whatever army I end up buying for that. In the meantime, feel free to comment, pop us a like, hit subscribe. Lots more carnage to come with this lot on top of the other battle reports and everything we've done. But for now, I think it is definitely time to call it a day.